Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Half the Race Gone for another day of Gran Turismo Sport. It is something I haven't really ever mentioned, but it has become rather obvious. One day we might be introducing some other game. Anyways, we are here with the tuned hothead Shootout by Allaloneatron, arranged on GTPlanet. And I think we're in for quite a show today. I think it's gonna be a fun one. We're gonna have two races for you. A sprint race. It's gonna be a sprint-ish race with 18 laps, but around the very short Maggiore Central layout. And then we are gonna have a bit of a longer race around the Red Bull Ring, the longer layout, the Grand Prix circuit of 25 minutes, featuring both tire degradation and fuel burning. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Driver-wise, we are in with a couple of familiar faces and and also some very unfamiliar faces. So I'm quite intrigued as to how the level will be today. I think it'll be really interesting to see how the... And mind you that this is of course a true live transmission. Not that we're not always live with you, but it's always something else when we are presenting yesterday's race as a replay, as opposed to as we are now really live. And don't mind my Alfa Romeo here, it's not because I'm actually racing. It was from the photo shoot, as you might have recognized. Anyways, we should probably just have a look through the driver layout. And good day to Piosko. So, we've been having quite a number of drivers joining us actually here on the day today, and it's been a little bit difficult actually keeping a complete overview over who is driving what. So I'd actually rather just go into the replay more or less and just go through them. Here, as we see, it's a serious returnee and a well-known face. It's White Flight in Magretti Clio. So good to see White Flight here once more. We see another one saying, "Oh, that's not right." Of course, we need to do the proper keyboard switch just to get the info. As for now, also all the settings needs to be correct. As it seems, for some reason right now it doesn't want to show me any info. It seems to be time for a lobby rejoin. Nice, huh? And hello also to Tron in the chat. And the pleasure is of course all mine. And it's gonna be an even greater pleasure once we have the game actually also wanting to give us just some data on, for example, who is running and different cars and such. Would like to see that. And shout out to you as well, of course, Tron, for a great idea it is, these tuned hot hatches. Of course, the specifications actually, I haven't gone through these yet. 275 brake horsepower and 1,050 kilograms, and that's about it. Racing hard tires, if I remember correctly. And hello to Awhoop, also really nice to see you along here today. Let's see if we have our info this time around. Oh, I know why. It's because it's off all the way out here. It's just me being a whoop. A whoop ass. That's better. That helps. So, let's go through the drivers now that we can actually see who is in the lobby. As I said, even the list that I saw, I think on GTPlanet, doesn't seem to be quite complete because we have a little bit of a surprise, a returning surprise, as we will get to. White Flight, we already mentioned. This is the first Citroen we've seen tonight, the Citroen DS3 of Mate 505. And then, of course, another serious returnee, or serious, I was not really serious anyways, but another return, another known face, if you may, if you will. It is, of course, VRS Stick. He is in the Peugeot 208. And likewise, another known face from the TSR M3 WTC. It is Addy 21NL in the Alfa Romeo Mito. So nice to see someone picking the Alfa Romeo, because I certainly think it is the nicest car of the lot here on display today. And Jomas, the the AS Monaco Pro Driver IGTL organizer, has chosen also to join us today. So I think the other drivers here will be in for quite something of a challenge going up against him in that AS Monaco livery. Alfa Romeo, also a tad of really good taste there from Jomas indeed. Certainly, as I just mentioned before, also certainly my car of choice, Addy there. We have the Siberian Tiger in his Renault Clio. A nice livery going on there, I like that one. Then we have Piosko, he's also in the Citroen DS3. And what does it say? The Kush Racing Team. A nice livery there. And Allaloneatron, he is in the Mini Cooper. So at least someone holding down the Mini flag here for us tonight. And then we have Trevor Nick, he is in the Renault Clio as well. So that pretty much, I have one more here. Of course, it is Ares, also in the Renault Clio. So quite a number of Clios, quite a number of Peugeots, and a single Mini. So after all, a little bit of diversity running through the field here as Addy brings his car to a stop right on the apex. And hello to Stella, also half the race dog, deciding to join. So I decided to mute the mic for a second before someone's ears got hurt. Seems the barking show isn't completely over with. Stella certainly disapproves of that apex bark. Hello to who I suppose is a storm pacer. Hello to hello to Ahmed Core. Go ahead, Shane Hunt. Well, I'll be the judge of that, Mr. Armored Core. The Prodigy driver, Armored Core, look out for him in both the NES and the TSR Multi-GT. Anyways, a couple of more joinees here. Oh, none of them seem to really have joined the track yet, although we have. So we are quite close to getting a roll on here with qualifying. So it is going to be interesting to see what kind of times are produced here. It is a very short layout, mind you, of course, here. And a layout that kind of connect the back S's with the first couple of corners here at the Maggiore circuit. So it is an unusual one for those who are used to driving the Grand Prix layout here. It certainly is something different. As we're on board with the Norwegian White Flight, whom I have had my number of very good battle with, and seemed to be a bit of a curse there, because just as we were about to take an onboard lap with him, he just went to the pits. So Trevor Nick is gonna be our target here. That very slow first corner, which is a left-hand hairpin, and turn leads out. It is a very fast layout of the track here. Basically two tight sections at each end, connected here by the fast sweeping S's. And then the braking zone here uphill, meaning that you can brake late, but you will also come over the apex, so need not to carry too much speed there. And then the well-known turns 1 and 2 in reverse order from the Grand Prix layout is certainly always going to cause a lot of trouble, and it's going to be very good opportunities for overtaking both in the first turn and final turns here of this layout. So I think we are in for an interesting race. And with that said, I think it is also time to get qualifying going. So as we're just waiting for the track to load, so we can jump in and watch the drivers. Mind you, they have 10 minutes starting from now to put in a qualifying time. And here for qualifying, we should actually just deploy all of the info, so we have lap times and everything. Oh, seems like we had the wrong the wrong time of day. Didn't anticipate that one. May I just use this opportunity to say that it's really nice. We've been receiving quite a lot of feedback, at least as compared to our standards of how much feedback we've been getting before, which actually wasn't too much. But over the last couple of days, we've started getting some feedback from here and there from different people, just saying that they really like the channel, and also coming in with different suggestions about what they'd like to see and stuff, which is really, really nice. And if you have any kind of feedback or suggestions and so that you'd like to see on the channel in the future or so, please give us a hint. It'll be I mean, we're just waiting to hear it, and we'd like to hear all of your good ideas. Anyways, it does seem that we have the qualifying session underway, so enough of the small talk, and let's get qualifying underway. As said, Piosko is first out here on his outlap in that Citroen DS3, the number 21 car. And hello to the VRS stick. And nice to see that you are both racing and in chat at the same time. Oh, as Jomas has quite something of a collision there coming out of the final corner. And certainly this is not going to be his flying lap. So back up with Piosko coming out of the hairpin here. And up through the S's. It'll be interesting to see how the cars also compare to one another. Personally, I have no idea how these cars compare. I have no idea which one is going to be strongest on whether top speed, acceleration, whether something is going to handle better than any of the others. No real clue, so it'll be exciting to see along the way here. Trevernik already beating Piosko by quite a margin there. He's put in a 50.5 more or less. Aris there with a 50.8, and White Flight is in with a 51.3, and then there was Piosko from before there with a 51.7. Then Mate and Jomas, who made a big mistake coming on to his earlier lap there, he's with a 51.7 at the moment, but will definitely be able to put in a much better time than that, as we're following Piosko here coming around. And of course wasn't Jomas we were following before, but Jomas is coming around for his first actual flying lap, and that is a 50.418. So a new best time, but only by, yeah, just about 0.08 of a second there. So Trevernik in the Renault Clio quite close behind at the moment. Aris also only within half a second of the time of Jomas there. Whereas White Flight has just about a second to make up. It'll be interesting to see which of these drivers has gotten the setup right. There you can see the car of White Flight seems to have quite a soft suspension setup there. Seems to have quite a bit of body roll also. Flick-Flock there in the golden Mini, in the very golden Mini Cooper. 24 karat. With also Eddie coming onto the track now, and Vera Stick I think has yet really also to set a time. Oh, Stick is on a complete stock setup, but the gearing, and of course it's gonna be interesting to see how his car handles, and if his car is gonna be able to handle that amount of power there. Jomas we see have put in 50.3 now, so he's further improved. As we have Trevernik coming across the line, but not really being able to improve on that first flying lap that he put in actually so far. And we are halfway through the qualifying session here. 5 minutes to go, or just under 5 minutes to go, 4.5 minutes. Seems to have an okay pace, White Flight, but certainly with, as I mentioned before, a whole lot of body roll on that Renault Clio. And on this lap he is also half a second down on his personal best. As Aris here has put in quite a nice lap actually. And he is now on the same lap as Trevernik, so seems to be a thing here when we are broadcasting qualifying sessions that we have cars, at least here. It's probably not going to stay this way all the way to the end, but at the moment second and third position are locked on what is exactly the same time, down to the 1,000th of a second. So that is certainly a close one. So we're gonna go inside with Aries here on board, coming out of turn 1. And of course the exit from turn 1 is all important, because you're just gonna be carrying that speed all the way down through these S's. Of course here you want to put in the absolute minimal amount of steering input. Let's see, ooh, Aries getting a little twitchy there. under braking, but manages to keep it composed coming into the final section there. Also here once more, exit all important here as he just manages to squeeze around the left side of the golden mini of Flick-Flock, of course that is. And now it's Allaloneatron also having put in a decent qualifying time there, and he's put in 2 actually right upon each other there with 2 times 56. So that's also a pretty decent lap, less than 3/10 down on the pole time at the moment. Siberian Tiger's also in here. He's put in 51.1. So he's just around 7/10 off that pole time at the moment. Piosko seems to be a little off the pace. And VRS Stick at the moment also seems to be quite a bit of time down actually. There's Matai, he's with a 51.8 at the moment. Flick-Flock with a 53.8, seems to be struggling a little bit also. And Addy also seems to be more or less warming up still. He's with a 54.0. And Jomas now has put in a 50 dead, so 50 seconds dead, and looking to get even further down, maybe even below the 50-second mark should be possible for him, considering that he probably hasn't had a huge deal of time, a huge amount of time to practice here. Goes for many of the drivers. I think it is a relatively casual event. Yes, that lap certainly wasn't on the top par for him. It's still Ares in second here with a 50.445. So he is now in front of Trevernick by 54 thousandths of a second and has managed to split the two apart. They were for a couple of minutes on the same time as qualifying is over or just about, and we're just going to be waiting for the call. It's probably going to be coming just around now. It looks like the host, Mr. Allaloneatron, is typing the message. So if anybody needs to finish their lap, it needs to be pretty much now. And race is underway. So we'll have VRS Stick, it seems, starting from the back. Oh, I was not sure he was expecting this. So everyone out there, have a good race. That goes for me at least, and we'll be excited just to see the start. And here goes the grid. The grid order is as shows. Jomas is in first with Ares, Trevernick, Allaloneatron, then followed by White Flight, Siberian Tiger, Piosko, then Mate, Flick-Flock, Addy, and Stick. So as they're off, it seems like Jomas got a brilliant start there. Ares also off to a brilliant one in second there. White Flight moving ahead, and he is doing so quickly, having gotten a very good start there. The Norwegian Jomas just instantly jumping away. As they're coming down to turn one, seems like everybody has gotten relatively cleanly through there, but some close action between Trevernick and White Flight there. Siberian Tiger also ducking and diving in behind, trying to find a way through with Allaloneatron in the mini under pressure from Piosko. Going a little bit wide there and seeming to cut the grass. So let's have a replay of the start here. And as you can just see, Jomas got brilliantly away, just hammering off there. And we're on board with Trevor Nick as White Flight just flies through, so a really good start there. And as they come down to turn 1, it really does bunch up all around there. It's Allaloneatron who goes wide, and then everybody else actually makes it pretty safely through. So that is very nice to see. Now jumping back in with the action, it is Jomas, the AS Monaco esports professional. He is, well, no surprise, he's in the lead and he is building his gap. He's now in front by 1.6 seconds ahead of Ares there. Turn is with a healthy but yet not commanding advantage down to White Flight, and then there is a scrap going on. I think it's down between Siberian Tiger and Allaloneatron, as Trevor Nick also seems to actually have caught the slipstream of White Flight, and White Flight forced to go a little bit defensive there. As Trevor Nick looks for the superior exit, but White Flight just manages to put his Clio in front of the Clio of Trevor Nick. And the Brit seems to have the pace advantage at the moment. In behind it is Piosko, Siberian Tiger. Just in front of these two, of course, right behind it is Allaloneatron. So as mentioned here, Ares in second position. And he is getting a good run down the straight, pulling away from Trevor Nick, who's now past White Flight. So let's see if we can just manage to capture that. Or will it be too late? No, it will certainly be too late, even for that long replay. And what a shame that we managed to miss that move. Now Trevor Nick seeming to be breaking away from White Flight, with Siberian Tiger in turn managing just to maybe just marooned a little bit at the moment on an island. We are on the 4th lap of 18 here. So expecting around a 15-minute race for this first one. Allaloneatron in 6th position, and we have some drivers having a little bit of issues at the back of affairs, it seems. There it is, Flick Flock and Addy, the two Dutchmen, the two compatriots, locked not too closely, but still within striking distance of one another. In 8th position at the moment, it is Matai, and we're going back with the leader now, Jomas, with a 3.2 second gap. And as I said, 3.2 just seems that the gap seems to increase a little bit, and he is pulling away. Trevor Nick still got Ares on the leash, so we still might see a scrap for 2nd position here. White Flight losing a little bit of terrain in behind there. And then there is a gap down to Siberian Tiger, who's been caught up to by Allaloneatron. Now these two are having a scrap. But Siberian Tiger manages to defend here. And as we go inside with Allaloneatron here, oh, and there's a little bit of contact there. It seems like Siberian Tiger manages to hold on. Oh, that's gonna be a bit too far away from the marker anyways there. Still just trying to get absolute control of that replay system. So it is nice to get some further experience with it in between races here. As we see the mini of Allaloneatron still close to Siberian Tiger. There was a little bump between the two of them last time out there. Ares now still just status quo between himself and Trevor Nick, just around about a second between the Renault Clios of those two, and also Renault in 4th position. in turn there with the Norwegian White Flight. Also wants even another Clio there of Siberian Tiger in 5th position, as Allaloneatron seems to have a really good run this time out. And he's now just charging down the start-finish straight. And he has to go around the outside to make it happen. And in turn, it'll have to be a cutback move if anything there. A little bit of lag here on my screen for Tron. And just the exit on that Renault in front. And look at Jomas here in the lead. He is just plowing away at the moment. Showing that Italian flavor will always win. And he seems to be coming up to lap some of the back markers already here. We are halfway through the sprint race here, lap 9 out of 18. Oh, as now Trevernick starting to seemingly catch up to Aris in front. He's taken a couple of tenths out of the gap now, and he could be within the slipstream. And he certainly does seem to be closing that gap in front. So that is certainly nice to see. Let's see if we can also get the exit here. Yeah, still gaining as they're coming down towards the S's. So we're gonna be keeping an eye on that one. White Flight in 4th position still, and he is, as mentioned before, a little bit on an island there. Allaloneatron and Siberian Tiger, those two still locked in a fight together. Seemingly a little bit of lag from those two, so that of course makes any real battling kind of difficult there. So not so far behind these two. It is Piosko still definitely able to make up that gap, especially if they start fighting in front, and then Matai, Flickflock and Addy around the back. And look at Jomas, he is now 5.5 seconds in front of Aris. Aris, who in turn now has Trevernick for good company. And it's just as they are about to lap the car of, I think that is Addy in the Alfa Romeo. Oh, as Aris seems to go a little wide there, but just managed to block off Trevernick. And this seems to be a good one. He has a nice run coming down towards turn 1. But it breaks a little too early even there, and allows Aris to gain a little bit of a gap. Does get the better advantage or the better exit, but seems to be quite a gap to close up. So a little bit of a mistake, maybe even from Trevernick, but of course also maybe not wanting to brake too late. That is quite understandable whatsoever. And in turn now, White Flight beginning to maybe come back, and just as I say that, he gets hit by the curse of the commentator and goes wide and loses just around a second to Trevernick there in front. So maybe I should just have kept my mouth shut in that situation there. Poor White Flight seeming to struggle a little bit with the car, and probably could have gained some by both lowering the suspension and in turn also stiffening it. Trevernick now has to do all that catching up again, and he seems to be very closely matched with Aris. So these two is in oh, sorry about that. As I accidentally kicked the mic stand. But these two, as I was saying, these two are in a very close fight at the moment. It is touch and go now. Aris evenly pulling away, and turn then Trevor Nick gets the exit and is in the slipstream once more. As we're still just engaged in this battle. And this time he gets the exit for real upon Aries here. And if he can keep the speed through the S's, he might be able to have a run at him here. Oh, seemingly just goes a little bit wide there. And that in turn is a shame because he loses out and he's back to 6/10 on the gap there. So they're going at it well, but not really much more than that going on at the moment. Now there's a fight between Siberian Tiger and Allaloneatron. So that will certainly just kick back to catch again there. It is Allaloneatron trying to throw one up the inside of Siberian Tiger there. And as the inside comes the outside for the final corner, he is not really able to do anything about that. And Siberian Tiger holding on to 5th position there, but Allaloneatron is right on his bumper. And the same goes for Trevor Nick, who is now really close to Aries here. And will it be the move down? No, just a whole lot of pressure being applied there. And no real successes, so let's just have a look at that situation there from the car of Trevor Nick as he goes in quite close there into the second to last corner. Just gets blocked off and then in turn doesn't really get the run through the final corner. And that is that opportunity blown. But he is still very, very close to Ares in front. As we check in with Allaloneatron and Siberian Tiger. Siberian Tiger seeming to go very deep in that corner. That might allow Tron to get the run on him. And they're alongside each other coming down towards the S's. And even Stella gets excited about this. But Siberian Tiger with a strong defensive showing there and great speed, cornering speed of that Renault Clio there, looking really strong. And Ares in turn still defending from Trevor Nick as well. White Flight, as we've mentioned before, he is a little bit marooned on that island in P4. Piosko there now having been caught up to by... Well, is that... No, he's actually... I think he's passed Addy with a lap there, so my excuses for that one. Jomas is still just plowing away. Sorry that we're not really paying attention to this in front, but... the display is quite dominant there from the IGTL organizer. As he's coming on to his final lap of the race. Ares now still with a little bit of a gap down. It's 0.3 of a second, so just a bit too far for Trevor Nick to actually be able to make an attempt here, but he can't get the better exit, and if he does, that might be the move here. Certainly seems to be gaining, but will it be enough? Doesn't really seem like it, does it? Ares there with a very strong showing defensively. And he looks to be claiming second position there through that last corner. Jomas has won. And Ares claimed second right in front of Trevor Nick. Only 0.3 of a second splitting those two apart. White Flight in fourth position. Is it going to be Siberian Tiger for fifth in front of Allaloneatron? They're going to have a run to it. Right for the line. What's it going to be? It is going to be Siberian Tiger by 84 thousandths of a second there. Piasco is gonna take 7th position. Mathai already, having come home for 8th with Flickflock 9th and Addy coming home in 10th position. So big congratulations to Jomas for that victory. A very, very strong displaying. Took pole position and just went away right away from the get-go. He saw that flag drop and there was nothing. Oh, and we have quite a bit of a funky disco dance here at the lobby. So yeah, congratulations to Jomas for the victory, and also to Ares. They're strong, showing in 2nd position, and Trevenik in 3rd, rounding off the podium. Now we're gonna have a 5-minute break here in between the 2 races. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna go away anywhere really, but we had some nice action. It was a close battle both between Siberian Tiger and Allaloneatron, and then of course also between Ares and Trevernik there, who had a very, very nice clean battle for 2nd position. Just seemed to be nip and tuck, and as one just gained a little, in turn he'd make a little mistake afterwards, and then it would just be right back to status quo. And it just seemed to be just within a second for pretty much the entirety of the race. That was a really close battle and a nice one to follow also. And Jomas, you freak, you fast freak, flying Frenchman. White Flight also mentioning in the game chat lobby there, in the lobby chat, that yeah, setting the bar, he was absolutely flying around there. White Flight also performing quite strongly. So here we are now for the reverse grid race. That will be the 2nd one around the Red Bull Ring, and in turn that's going to be very interesting to see how Jomas goes when he's going to be all at the back of affairs from the beginning of the race, and will be having to overtake well, the entire field is if he wants to win this one as well. So that's going to be interesting to see. It's a little bit like the format that we had for the TSR M3 WTC, where we also had a shorter sprint race as race 1, and then a longer race that would be with the grid reverse results from the race 1 results, just as we are seeing here. As we go on board for a moment with the Flickflock and the Golden Mini. A very nice track also, this one to drive at. And plenty of overtaking opportunities. It goes for both turns 1, and I guess that's turns 3 and 4 officially, because the left kink also counts as a turn. Though in my mind it really isn't a turn. In my mind, turn 2 is the sharp right-hander at the end of the straight. And then of course also through the more not impossible to have some very close side-by-side action through there. There is Ares there, 2nd placed in the first race. Just have this short bit of warm-up before we'll be getting off for the final 15-lap race that shall decide this event. as we're on board now with Jomas coming into that middle sector, and here from the exit of turn 4. And then this long lift hander where you just have to be patient before coming onto the throttle. See, perfect line there executed. And coming in wide there, Jomas. And hello to Mr. Off Apple. Nice to see you in chat. And have you missed much? Well, I don't know. I guess you missed something since you missed the entire first race. You've missed the 18-lap sprint race around Maggiore Central, or actually the Reverse Maggiore Central layout. It's quite a long name actually. But you are right in time for the second race, and I can tell you that Jomas won the first race. Big surprise. He won it right in front of Aries, the guy we're following now, who in turn, or not right in front, but he won it in front of Aries, who then won it right in front of Trevernick, who was fourth in front of White Flight. And then it was, of course, Siberian Tiger in fifth position, followed closely by Allaloneatron, who finished sixth. I didn't really get to check out how they finished below that, when there was something like Piosko in seventh position in front of Matai, who I think just left the lobby not too long ago. And then Flickflock and Addy at the bottom of affairs. VRS Stick, he's in the pit. And I wonder where he will be starting, because he missed the first race. Will he be at the back of affairs for this one? Well, it'll be interesting to see what the game decides. I guess he will be. Jomas there with a 1:43.9. That goes to show the speed of these cars. And he just puts in a 1:42.8, so that was quite the improvement, to be honest. White Flight currently second here in practice, and Siberian Tiger third. Of course, now Ares fourth here. I think it won't be too long before we will have the race underway. Flickflock is in fifth position with Addy in sixth, and Trevernick not really having completed a time now. Same goes for actually for Flickflock. Addy there completes a lap. Flickflock, it seems, actually has completed a lap, so still a couple of drivers that hasn't gone around, but doesn't really let's hope that that Matai will return for the last race here, the second race of tonight. Now Trevernick getting within a second of Jomas. I'd say that in itself is it's not too bad at all. He is 6/10 behind. Still also 6/10 in turn in front of White Flight. So a bit of spread it seems here. As we are on board with TSR Motorsports driver VRS Stick. And we get the call. There is 1 minute to start. 1 minute to start, and of course the grid order is already set, and will be interesting also to see how they go with the fuel. It seems Trevor Nick pitting in here, and having done so with 64 liters of fuel, so seemingly they will be needing to pit during this race, at least for fuel, if not also for tires. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one. Feel the race hype is building, and mind you that we will have reverse grid order on the results from the previous race as the final has gotten underway. The countdown is on. And Jomas, as we are following here, the winner of the last race, he will be in last position, I think. If not second to last, it might be second to last with VRS Stick at the bottom. No, it is VRS Stick right at the front and Jomas right at the back. So, like we've really wanted it, this is actually going to be interesting because Stick is no slouch, but will Jomas be able to catch him all the way from the back of affairs there? Let us see. 3, 2, 1, and they're off. And I think it is Flickflock who's gotten a poor start there. Jomas already up the inside of Stick goes wide there. Allaloneatron. Addy in third position. Jomas up into fourth already. What a start from the Frenchman. We'll have to see that one again. And this time we will see it from the inside view of Jomas, because seemed to be absolutely insane there. Look how he gets away from the line there. He just overtakes cars left, right and center. Then he has a little bit of a squeeze there with Siberian Tiger, and there's a huge shunt there as Addy gets a big launcher up the back. That is what happens, however. Jomas now up into third position, White Flight in fourth, Aris right behind with Siberian Tiger, and Trevor Nick now closely in behind there. Trevor Nick's gonna be watching and looking to get that move, as he's also, of course, wanting to move up through the field there. Trevor Nick, however, goes way wide and is way off indeed. And let's just have a look with what happened there, as Trevor Nick just goes, as I said it before, he goes wide and he goes off into the gravel. And that is gonna cost him, well, his chances pretty much over for this race, unless everybody else has a whole lot of bad luck. Now it's VRS Stick. Allaloneatron also taking the very, very, very wide line there. He is now basically still standing by the wall there. What a shame. Jomas in second position now. And was that a dropout from Tron? I think that might just have been a disconnect, actually. So Stick leading Jomas by not 0.4, that is a penalty he's received, of course. He is Jomas there a second behind at the moment. White Flight in third position. And then there's a battle here between Aris and Siberian Tiger. Now Aris up into fourth position. Definitely looking really strong here. Siberian Tiger just holding on there. In sixth it is Piosko, seventh is Flickflock with Addy in eighth, and then all the way at the back of affairs it is, of course, Trevor Nick after his runoff there on the first lap. Poor luck for him. After a strong display and a podium finish in race 1, he is definitely gonna work hard to gain anything here from race 2 indeed. And that was indeed just looking at the chat here of Apple mentioning that yeah, Jomas absolutely taking no prisoners at the start. He is certainly taking no prisoners here at the race either, because he is applying maximum pressure to VRS Stick at the moment in that TSR Motorsports 208. Will he be able to hold off? Just goes a little wide there, Sticky boy. But VRS Stick really knows how to defend. He knows where to put his car. Oh, and he's received a penalty there. And that means that Jomas here, by the start of the third lap, is up into the race lead. So that certainly didn't take him too long, conquering the field. And now he's on a charge to get away. Let's see if anyone can hold on. He gets the exit right away there upon VRS Stick. In turn now, White Flight is closing up upon the Brit in front. White Flight now actually getting fairly close to VRS Stick there in front. So we might just see a battle developing, of course it is, for second position, as White Flight just seems to hit the breaking point perfectly there. Stick goes very deep and loses out on a little bit of extra time, and now White Flight is within striking distance. But as mentioned before, Stick, usually I'd say I've tried this myself. I've raced this fella on many occasions, and he usually is very hard to pass here. White Flight just really trying to put the pressure on, where Trials passed Stick on the last lap of the opening round of the TSR M3 WTC, if any viewers remember that. And it is, as I suspected, a big F for the host of the series, the organizer, Allaloneatron. It did look like an internet dropout there, so yeah, that is certainly a very big shame indeed. White Flight now still just right in behind VRS Stick as he does go for a move, and he cleanly gets the overtake done, and the Norwegian is up into second position in that Renault Clio and gets a strong exit also there from turn 1. And that's going to help him defend from Stick coming down towards turn 3 as it is. Now it is Siberian Tiger just leading Ares, so Ares seems to have a little bit of, or have had a little bit of a problem at least, because he's just about half a second behind Siberian Tiger in 4th position. And just as I say that, it is Siberian Tiger that runs seriously wide this time around. Ares has the run now up in front. Stick also seems to have the run on White Flight now. And of course, as these two fight it out, it's gonna be just a little bit easier for Jomas to just run away with it. Oh, you see the body roll of that stock setup. There's a stock suspension setup on the 208. It's not really set up to handle that amount of grip that the racing hearts can produce there. Now Ares is up into 4th, having passed Siberian Tiger. Let's see if we can catch that on the replay. Oh, it's actually Siberian Tiger seemingly who almost made a carbon copy of when Trevor Nick went wide there. And Ares haven't taken advantage. Now Siberian Tiger getting very close. Trevor Nick in turn, how is he doing? He's up into 7th position and fighting to come back, but still a bit away back. He is closing up on Piosko now in 6th. But then there in turn is quite a gap to the next pairing of drivers up in front. White Flight still just trying to break away from VRS Stick. The battle for 2nd position at the moment. As we just go on board with White Flight there, Stick seeming to get a very good break in there, but seemingly also to get kind of a little bit of a better exit than White Flight, who just builds a little bit, and then the slipstream starts to build up as the speed builds up, and Stick gets ever closer there. Oh, goes a little bit deep once more. And might also be having problem with some tire wear now, or by now VRS Stick, I could imagine. That might be what's happening for him. And Ares in 4th position, followed very closely by Siberian Tiger. We are gonna go online with the Siberian Tiger indeed here. Just about 3/10 down as Ares goes wide there, and that might open the door coming in towards the final turn as they go side by side. A little bit of a contact there together, but Siberian Tiger does get the move done there and is up into 4th position. And basically just capitalizing on the mistake of Ares there in the situation. Those two Clios having a close scrap together. Still somewhat of a healthy gap down to Piosko and Trevernick in behind there. It is Jomas at the moment absolutely running away with this one. White Flight now having broken the slipstream down to VRS Stick. We are on lap 6 of 15 here today. And I can really understand that you are gutted about that one, Tron, because you did look to be going quite strong there. So we've been seeing that a little bit more than we've been seeing, at least in the first period of time I've been playing GT Sport. At least a little bit more disconnects here as of late. I don't know if it's just me being more exposed to these disconnects, or being a witness to more disconnects, or if it actually has more disconnects. That of course is very hard to say. Now White Flight pulling away from VRS Stick. He is in front by just about 2 seconds now, so really looking to hammer home that advantage. Now VRS Stick seemingly really having lost a bit of pace there, because he is getting caught. Ares, who are now looking to engage VRS Stick in this scrap. And it's now not going to be for 4th position, it's going to be for 3rd indeed. Siberian Tiger still holding on, but Ares is really close in behind there. As we go on board with Siberian Tiger with the rearwards facing cam here into turn 1. And cut right back with Ares there. Stick maybe seemingly still nursing some kind of penalty, or did he pick up another one? I'm not quite sure of that one actually. Anyways, the 3-way scrap for 3rd position is indeed a reality now. It is VRS Stick with Siberian Tiger. He's within half a second. And then Ares more or less within striking distance of the Siberian Tiger here. As we see Siberian Tiger just really having to go defensive and not really managing to put his car in the way of Ares there, who goes up the inside. And as they're side by side through the first of 2 right-handers, in the second here he might get it done. Seemingly Siberian Tiger getting a good run there. And still side by side, and great defensive driving there, just not wanting to give up. That is proper touring car racing there. A bit of paint trading, a bit of bumping and grinding, and not too much pushing in the end though. And now we have Ares, who's pitted in for his pit stop. I see almost no fuel left. Trevernick also in from 6th position. And he has somewhat more fuel left, and of course they will be hoping to be able to just one-stop this one. And it does look like it is right on that mark that they'll be able to do that fuel-wise. We have Jomas in the lead. He's setting fast lap after fast lap after fast lap. Seeing that his fastest lap is a 42.9 and his last lap is a 43.0. So not only fast but also very consistent, and that is always the trademarks of a top driver like Jonas, who in truth is really, really a top driver. No shame in being second here today with a driver like this one on the grid, because He is in truth one of the very best in the world. White flight there, he is 8 seconds behind in that Clio. And he's pulling away from VRS Stick and consolidating that second position of his. Now Siberian Tiger battling away there with VRS Stick for third position. And we saw before Aris pitting in, and that might just be in order to be able to get that clean air coming out, those fresh tires, and to perform that undercut. It certainly would seem a possibility here, because with Stick and Siberian Tiger going at it like this, they are not going to get any fast lap times out of this one. So now we have Jomas into the pits. He has been saving quite a bit of fuel as well, you see, compared to some of the other drivers now. Siberian Tiger and White Flight in at the same time. So we're just going to be following. There's Jomas coming out, and we're expecting White Flight first and then Siberian Tiger next, and it'll be interesting to see how Aris compares to these two. Here he is crossing the line. Oh, and that's gonna be really, really close. And that might even be close between him and White Flight. So the undercut really seems to have worked for Aris, who now has get the launch upon White Flight. And that might take him up into virtual second position on the road, actually, since we have not had VRS Stick or Piosco pit in for their stops yet. But in turn, just White Flight managing to hold on there, and not really sure how he managed to do so. Let's catch a replay of that one. But he managed just to put Aris on the outside there, coming up into turn 3. So that's definitely a strong one there from White Flight. A nice move. And now Aris certainly getting aggressive there, trying just to make his way past. And now I think it is the capitulation of White Flight there, getting very, well, I was about to say sideways, but it actually is a very good comeback move, a cutback from White Flight. And we know this about the Norwegian driver, that he certainly doesn't give up, and he gets the run through this corner and holds on to his position in the fight against Aris here. Now VRS Stick having come in for his stop, and Jomas already passed there, so let's see where he comes out. It'll be interesting to see for VRS Stick. Piosco is up into second position, really going for the long stint here. And White Flight right about down there, actually still might be a possibility that Stick could come out in front of these two. And that would mean that he've actually had a brilliant run there, making the overcut work. If it turns out to be that way, it certainly is going to be close. Might also just be in turn, be down to the fighting between these two. I was expecting actually Aris to be pulling off the undercut on Stick, but it just turns out to be the other way around. VRS Stick with a great pit stop there as Aris gets it done and gets past White Flight. As we see it once more, he goes up the inside there and just makes it stick. So a great move there from Aris, takes it up to fourth position now. And that is of course virtual third position now. White Flight with the comeback here. And he is on the inside. He does have the racing line. Very respectful racing from both there. He gets the run on the exit of the corner, and that in turn puts him through, at least provisionally. And Aris has to pull out of that battle, just being all in on the inside there, not really able to carry all that much speed through the corner. That is White Flight through again. So really strong display here from the Norwegian. And we are getting spoiled now with some very great racing, actually. All the action that the first race seems to miss. Oh, there Aris going very deep into the penultimate corner. Piosco now coming in for his pit stop. And that is gonna reset the order of the race, because it is the last of the non-pitters. And let's see where he emerges from this pit stop round. Trevor Nick is possibly going up into sixth position, and he has almost caught up to the Siberian Tiger in front. So I'm going a little bit wide there, Trevor Nick, but certainly looking good. Time-wise, he's caught up most of what he lost in that early incident. Jomis is just plowing away. He is over 20 seconds in front of VRS Dick at the moment. What a display. He is just slaughtering the field at the moment. And VRS Dick coming out the pits and now seems to have reversed the order a little bit. Seems to be going much stronger than he did early on. White Flight in third position still. Just missing the apex a little bit there. And in turn also losing a bit of time down to Ares. Siberian Tiger not that far behind, with a 2-second gap both in front and behind to Trevernick. And Trevernick in that very distinctive looking Red Oak Clio. Certainly looking to come back from his early incident, as mentioned before. VRS Dick goes a little bit wide coming out of the final turn onto the start finish straight. White Flight is getting ever closer, and he is nearing the 1 second gap up to Stick. It was 2 seconds just a second ago, and he gets way superior exit there. White Flight is, you can just see the gap visibly shortening in front of him. He in turns just gets a little bit deep into that braking zone, and that's gonna cost him some time, even though he did manage to gain almost half a second on that straight down there alone. White Flight. So he's certainly having a strong run here on VRS Dick, and with a couple of laps still remaining, 2.5 laps. Or I'm sorry, 3.5 laps. It of course is. He should be possible for him to pull off some kind of something at least. The Siberian Tiger is in 4th position, still holding off Ares in 5th. And still holding off Ares. He was behind Ares before, so I think Ares must have made a mistake. Either that or the Siberian Tiger is absolutely flying at the moment. And who is appearing there in the background? It is Trevernick with a fantastic comeback. He is now within a second of Ares right in front of him, and looking to enter the top 5, and probably even hoping for more here. VRS Dick now with a very small gap in turn down to White Flight. That is just a couple of tenths of seconds or so. White Flight getting pushed to the outside there by Stick. Will he be able to cut in towards the inside? No, Stick is just trying to shield him off there, and White Flight having to go for the cutback if he is to make any kind of move. But he does that, and he does that brilliantly. Now he's up the inside with the rundown. That is going to be very hard to defend for VRS Dick. Just jumping inside here and turning that camera towards the side, seeing that superior speed from the Clio there of White Flight, and not a chance for VRS Dick to defend that one, as he tries to anyway. As a bold move, but doesn't quite manage to make that one stick. It would have been an insane one there to throw it up the inside. A very bold one indeed. But VRS Dick there getting put back into 3rd position by White Flight, who now is in turn, of course, is up into 4th. And Trevernick has passed both Ares and Siberian Tiger, and he is now up into 4th position. And it seems like Siberian Tiger have had some kind of off right in front there, and that certainly must have helped Trevernick through. So Trevernick really looking strong here, and a very, very, very strong return from him as he gets a little bit of a bad exit. Now it is Siberian Tiger getting the run, and he is going to make the pass. Coming on to the penultimate lap, Aris is in 6th position right behind these two, but is in no way out of it yet. So it's a really close scrap between these two, at least for 4th position up in front. It is White Flight trying to get rid of VRS Stick, but VRS Stick is not giving up. He's still really close to the Norwegian. And this battle might also just go all the way to the line, as the lead of Jomas in front is just closely. It's getting close to half a minute. That's what I meant to say. But it is certainly a big lead he is holding on to. Very dominant display for the Frenchman. He is flying along there, and maybe just a little bit of flying under the radar for him. Now White Flight just trying to break the slipstream down to VRS Stick and manages really to punch a hole through that sector. And turn now with Stick trying to come back, but he gets wide through there, and that's going to cost him even more time. He's going to be more than a second behind after this. And Stick also received a 0.7 second penalty, and that might settle that duel for second position, as it's really close here between Trevernick and Siberian Tiger. And they're coming up towards the final couple of turns there. They're side by side. And Siberian Tiger defending brilliantly there, but Trevernick seemingly just waiting, biding his time, focusing on his exit. And in turn not really getting the best of exits, and is now Siberian Tiger with a little bit more than half a second. Aris in 6th seems to have fallen off a little bit there. Piosko is catching up to these guys now. So a great last stint there from Piosko, who might just improve upon his 7th position. Flickflock in 8th and Addy in 9th at the moment. And Jomas is going to hammer home this win, it seems. White Flight has now definitively, it also seems, has put VRS Stick out of his slipstream. And with a 2.3 second gap, it just seems pretty much down to himself not to make any mistakes here on the final lap. VRS Stick, in turn, with just 7 seconds down to Siberian Tiger, is probably going to take a podium spot. So also a really strong display from the Sticky boy here. Nice to see, even with absolutely minimal practice. But as I mentioned before, I think it goes for a couple of the drivers in this lobby. And it has been a very casual, also on my part, quite a casual race. It's been very much fun, especially this second race so far, as Jomas takes the victory and does so, as I mentioned before, in a very, very dominant way. White Flight is coming home for second position. So congratulations to Jomas. Very well done there. And it is going to be second for White Flight. It is going to be third for VRS Stick, who comes home there. Siberian Tiger is going to hold out. It seems Trevernick has made a mistake here on the final lap, so it is going to be Siberian Tiger for 4th, Trevernick for 5th. Piosko is going to take 6th, with Aris right behind in 7th position. So the Piosko managing there to return for 6th position, and Aris kind of having a fall from grace there over the last stint of that second race. So very big congratulations to Jomas on winning the first race, and then starting from the back and winning the second race. Nonetheless, that was an absolutely dominant display. And also congratulations to White Flight and the Sticky for actually making the podium here in race 2. Also really well done to you guys. And thank you for everyone tuning in and everyone getting live in chat. Although it wasn't the most lit of broadcasts, I think that maybe also goes a little bit on my part. Of course, it's always a little bit more to take in when it's a lot of new drivers and some cars that you are not used to seeing. But overall, I think it was a lot of fun. And big thanks to all the drivers for lining up, giving us such a great show. Of course, a big thanks to Allaloneatron for hosting the event. A big thanks goes out to GTPlanet for existing and being such a nice, great space, a great community, a great collection of people in there. I haven't really mentioned this before, but I really like GTPlanet. Goes to show. And of course, to all of you tuning in today, a very, very big, warm thanks to you as well. It has been an absolute pleasure having you along. And with that said, I think this will conclude the GTPlanet Hot Hatch Shootout here on Half the Race Gone. It has been a pleasure. And of course, we will be back come Monday with the Nuke Shot Endurance Series, and Wednesday, of course, also with the TSI Multi-Class Super GT Championship. So do join us for the broadcast of those series. And with that said, I don't think there's much left for me to say, but to have a very good evening. And until next time, have fun, take care, and bye-bye.